What general advice would you give to students about to study at university?
What general advice?
General advice.
Um, I think be open to the unexpected, because that, for me, that was the hardest thing. Like I said, there was, for example, I had this misconception, rightly or wrongly, that I would be either in lectures all the time, or in what they call seminars all the time. And that wasn't the case. There was a lot of independent study. And that took a while to shift from going into sixth form, where, it was quite structured. I think sixth form kind of prepares you for that, but not massively. And yeah, there's a lot of self-sufficiency. You get out of it what you put into it. The cliche is true. So, I know I had, in my final year, I got to a stage where, after my placement and after my 2 years, I knew that even if I did relatively okay on my dissertation, I would still get past the 2-1. So I just spent my final year not doing much, to be honest. So yeah, my advice is be prepared for the unexpected, and make new friends. I think it's a great place to make new friends and learn from different people, different experiences. And depending on the type of course that you're in as well, obviously, like I said, I studied public relations, just embrace it, embrace everything about it. I think you do need to genuinely love to do PR. You need to genuinely love the media. You need to understand the landscape. You need to understand how different stakeholders, work within organizations, and how organizations carry out their activities. So whereas I imagine for, let's say, a science-based course, you've got the advantage, which we didn't have before, of YouTube. So if there's something that you don't understand that's very scientific, I'm sure there are a lot of YouTube videos that could explain that. So it's changing the mindset and being quite enterprising in your approach of how you approach university, I would say.
What advice do you give to students about to study at Bournemouth University?
At Bournemouth specifically, don't spend all your time on the beach. It's tempting, even in winter. But no, on a more serious note, I suppose, it's a great city. I think it's or town, maybe. I think it's to a town. It's a great place to be. It could work on its diversity in terms of more ethnicities. But aside from that, it's a nice place, and university itself. I don't know. There's nothing bad to say about Bournemouth. It's a great place.
What advice would you give to students about to study your course at university?
My course, yeah. If you're thinking about studying public relations, don't do what I did and leave the industrial placement till the last minute, because you're yeah, I'll get a job. I mean, ultimately I did, but it's pretty stressful when you're trying to do it last minute, because at the time, I don't know if they've changed it, but at the time, if you didn't get a placement, you failed the course. So leaving it last minute, as I came to realize, was not the best strategy because it just added unnecessary pressure, I would say. I'm a person that doesn't really stress, but even for me, it was getting to a point where I was should I start stressing about this? Because I don't know. All my lecturers were stressed for me. So yeah, it wasn't an ideal scenario. So definitely don't think about your placement year as, it's year 3. Start networking, LinkedIn is a great tool now. So if you know that there's an organization that you have your eye on, that you would want to do a placement, start networking early on, because that could definitely make the difference. That would be number 1. Number 2 would be absorb the media, because PR and media go hand in hand. I think one of my lecturers said, and I don't know how true it is, but we have to trust them because they're lecturers, that most of the news that we read, 80%, something like 80% or 90%, quite a high percentage, of the stories that you read come from public relations. So with that statistic alone, you need to understand the media landscape and understand, the different types of press. And then yeah, make friends and know who the smart kids are so you can get good grades when you do group activities. That's what I did.